Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be my mid-year book freakout. I do this book tag every year. This is probably the most depressing looking weather I've ever had to deal with for this video, but we're going to pretend it's summer and we're going to talk about some of the best, worst books that I've read so far this year, what I'm hoping to accomplish, what books I'm looking forward to reading, and just kind of a catch up. I will be doing a video updating you on all my reading challenges. We'll talk about that soon, but we're going to be answering the questions right now. Question number 1, best book you've read so far in 2023. I feel like last year was such a good reading year that I am feeling a little sad that so far it's not going that well. Things still have time to change. I feel like I had the same experience last year, so I can still turn things around. But I feel like I'm cheating with this answer, but it's my channel. I can do what I want. I did read I Who Have Never Known Men in 2022. However, I read the French version, Moi qui n'ai pas connu les hommes, this year. Does it count? Does it count? Because I think I'm going to include this in my best books of 2023. Listen, this is so good. I love this even more the second time. I give this one 4.5 and I gave this one 5 because I feel like I got to appreciate the story a lot more. I was less focused on trying to figure out what happened because in this book you're following 40 women that have been underground in a prison for years and years and years, and they don't know what happened to the world, what happened to their families. The youngest one is the one that we're following, and she doesn't remember the before, so she's never even seen the sky. And one day they escape and, they live their life. I'm not going to spoil anything. And I loved it so much the second time around. So I can't stop raving about it. It's really short. I actually ended up reading this in a day. I lost electricity for like 48 hours, so I had nothing else to do. And I got to just immerse myself in it all over again. And yeah, easily one of the best books that I've ever read. If this is considered cheating, I thought I would give a special mention to The Wall because this was also really good. Again, kind of dystopian-ish. You're following this woman who is on a vacation in the mountains, and then the couple that she's with, they end up going in town, and then they don't come back. So she goes to figure out what happened, and she realizes that she is stuck behind an invisible wall. So she has to survive all by herself with only a dog, a cat, and a cow, and you just follow her day-to-day life and watch her try to stay sane and fed. But I ended up really liking it. It's super depressing. The other one too. Clearly I have a type. I actually recently watched a movie because someone on Goodreads let me know that I should try to find it in French because I was trying to find, it's a German movie, I believe, and I don't speak German, and I couldn't find any translation of it, but I did find one with French subtitles, although half of them didn't show up on the screen. It was bad, but I got to experience the movie. I kind of knew what was going to happen, so it was fine. And yeah, I loved it. Super depressing. I would recommend reading the book over the movie, but you do you. But if you like slightly depressing survivalist kind of books, this was good. Question number 2, best sequel you've read so far in 2023. Okay, one of my challenges this year is to attempt to finish as many series as possible or give up on them. And so far this year, I've given up on it. But it's okay. That's going to be good when I update you on that challenge. The best sequel I have read, I just finished. It is The Fate of the Tearling, which is the last book in the Queen of the Tearling series. And super controversial, I feel like, but I personally really liked it. I think that people go into this series thinking adult fantasy, which it is, but I feel like book 2, a new kind of genre is introduced, and then it influences the rest of the series, and the ending is understandably not going to make everyone happy, but I think it worked. I'm not happy, but I think it really worked, and I am giving it 4 stars. So this is by far the best sequel I have read so far this year, and I think the series deserves more hype. I feel like I used to hear people mention it when I first started Booktube, not so much lately. So if you're looking for something a little bit more unique, book 1 definitely feels like a normal adult fantasy, but it becomes more, and I think it deserves more love. It deserves more love. I get it, why you didn't like it, but I loved it. Well, I liked it. Question number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. Okay, one that I have access to because I'm cheating a little bit. It's coming out in September, but I have an ARC, so an advanced reader copy of it, and it is The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. This is coming out in September the 26th, and I Really wanted to read it. I will be able to read it this summer. I'll let you know if it's worth it or not. This is kind of a companion series added to the other series by her, which now I can't remember the name. I'll put it on the screen. But that series that everyone was reading like 5 years ago, myself included, and I had really enjoyed the world and the magic system. I feel like the characters, the last book was this disappointing. We're just gonna say it. I feel like the character kind of stopped being in character. They started acting weird, and like there was a lot going on. But I really like the world and magic system, and I feel like the author has been improving with each book, so I really want to continue explore the world. I believe you're following like side characters, like the main characters of that series will still be kind of included. We'll see how much. I don't really care if they're not. But I really want to continue, like I said, exploring. It's going to be an adult fantasy, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's pretty chunky. It's like 500 something pages, so I'll keep you updated, but I'm really, really excited to get to it. I've had access to it for like a month, and I've just been overwhelmed, but we'll be reading that soon. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I feel like everyone in the world, we're all going to say that, but Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is coming out November 7th, and it's the prequel of Legends and Lattes that I feel like all fallen in love with, myself included, a cozy adult fantasy. Usually not my cup of tea, but it worked so well for me. This one, like I said, is a prequel, so the main character, Viv, the orc that had bought or started a coffee shop in the first book. In the prequel, she decides to stop in a little town to rest, and she kind of makes friend with the person that has a bookshop. So like, listen, cozy fantasy and bookstore. Yes, I'm going to be reading this. 350 pages, so it's going to be a good chunk too. I'm excited. Biggest disappointment. I feel like I didn't read anything that was too intense, but Happy Place. Don't get me wrong, I actually did still enjoy reading it. I had a good laugh, actually vlogged it. You can see me laugh at some of the bad parts, but I overall still think that Emily Henry is a great author. She's really, really great at banter, and I was disappointed because in the other romances that I had read by her and enjoyed, like Book Lovers or Beach Read, I felt like the two main characters that, had the romance, because this is an adult romance, she made them emotionally mature. Like they might have been like a little bit unavailable. Yes, there were a little bit of miscommunication, but it wasn't like ridiculous ones. In this case, it felt a bit ridiculous, the miscommunication, and I definitely didn't feel like the main characters were mature. And like, they don't always have to be, but I feel like this one just bugged me because they had been together for years and years and years, and like, they literally didn't communicate. And I'm not saying it's not realistic, but it bugged the crap out of me. So yeah, so for that reason, it was a bit of a disappointment. I'm happy with the ending. So again, not a huge disappointment, but I feel like the other books that I've read this year that I haven't enjoyed, I kind of did it to myself a little bit, so, or I had no expectations. Number 6, biggest surprise. I'm gonna go with North and South because it's a classic, but I have been trying to read more classic actually written by women. I feel like a lot of the ones that you see are like men or like Jane Austen. And I had never heard anything about this book when we picked it up for the book club on Patreon for the classic ones. And I thought this was going to be a little bit in line with Pride and Prejudice because you have this kind of miscommunication a little bit with the two main characters where like they just misjudge each other. And it was, but I didn't expect it to have so much like political and like social commentary. And I really enjoyed it. Way more than the romance, to be honest. Towards the end, I feel like it came out of nowhere. It did. But the social commentaries were just really on point, and I really didn't expect it. I feel, not that I didn't expect like a female author to write that in the time, but more like that it would be published. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Would highly recommend if you're interested in like industrial revolution. And it was great. And like the critiques about capitalism. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Number 7, a new favorite author. Okay, I don't feel like I've had huge revelations this year, but there is one that took me a little bit by surprise too, and it's T. Kingfisher. I've read Nettle and Bone by her earlier this year, which is is it considered YA? I feel like it read a bit YA fantasy, and it feels a little bit like a fairy tale-esque kind of book, but it totally works. So you have this princess, her sister was essentially sold to another kingdom, and she is being mistreated by the prince she had to marry, and her sister basically goes to save her. This is a very short and sweet version, but it took me by surprise. I ended up really enjoying it, and a lot of you actually recommended that I tried A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by her, and apparently it's another fantasy, cozy fantasy, and I'm in the mood to read more. So again, kind of took me by surprise. I wouldn't say all-time favorite author because I've only read one book, but definitely intrigued enough by her that I want to try more. I feel like all the other authors that I really liked, they weren't really the first books that I've read by them, or like nothing else that they've written is really something I want to try. So she's my best option. Number 8, newest fictional crush. Okay, let's be real. I don't really get crushes on books. Maybe I don't read the right kind of books, okay? It's okay. But I thought I would switch it up and use it to talk about the most relatable character that I've read. I wanted to give a shout out to the main female character in Remnant Population. She is so over it. She's like in her 70s and she's had a rough life. It's kind of hinted throughout the book. And it's not the fact that she hates people that I find relatable, making that clear. It's just that she doesn't really care about people's opinion anymore. She just wants to garden, not wearing shoes, not wearing underwear, and just, feeling free. And I was like, you know what? I understand that. I can totally relate. Like, I haven't worn a bra in forever. And like, I feel like when I'm in my 70s, if I want to garden, yeah, if I don't want to wear shoes, I'm not going to wear shoes. I appreciated that about her. She just wanted to be herself. And I did feel that she had some growth, throughout the book. Definitely felt a little bit less like hermit. With that said, I do feel like, again, when you get her backstory, it makes so much sense, like trauma. But yeah, I liked her as a character. She's grumpy, but she warms up eventually. Question number 9 is newest favorite character, which it feels like I kind of said that, but no. I wanted to talk about the 3 main female characters in The Change by Kirsten Miller. This, I really, really thought the beginning was so strong. I thought I was going to give this book 5 stars. It's kind of a urban fantasy. You have these women that are, going through menopause. And again, they don't give a about anything anymore. They finally found their power, and it turns out that some of them are witches, but that's a different story. And it just, again, I really liked how they're embracing this new power, literally. Throughout the book, they're also investigating a murder, and there's a lot more to the story. I did feel like it got a bit too long and the ending wasn't the strongest, but I feel like the first third of that book, 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed them. Again, not necessarily one in particular, but just in general, seeing that, it just makes me warm inside. So definitely my favorite characters. Number 10, a book that made you cry. Well, I have to go back to the book I'm not supposed to be talking about because I didn't read it this year, but I did read the French version, so it counts. I, who have never known men, I didn't bawl my eyes out because I don't cry very often, although I am due to do a part 2 to me reading your saddest book recommendations to see if you're going to make me cry again. But there's a moment specifically where, this isn't a spoiler, but there's another female character that basically tells her as she is dying that she has loved her so much. And I feel like the main female character has been going through so much that she's not very affectionate or anything. And that moment of being told that, I feel like the second time around it hit me even harder, knowing everything that was going to happen. And so good. This isn't a spoiler. I feel like it sounds like a spoiler. It's not. I didn't name really anyone, but yeah, I didn't cry, but I definitely had misty eyes, and I definitely was touched. There you go. So would recommend. I can't stop raving about this. The next one on the completely the end of the spectrum. Number 11. What was the book that made you the happiest? Okay, again, I've been reading a lot of depressing books. It is what it is. But one of them made me laugh because it was so freaking ridiculous, but it made me laugh. Ice Planet Barbarians. If you haven't seen it, I vlogged it. This is my first smutty, spicy book that I've read, and I laughed. I was so uncomfortable. So many scenes are so cringe. I get secondhand embarrassment super easily. So I cringed so hard. And I do want to mention, if you haven't read this, give yourself at least 50 pages because the beginning is so questionable. And not it gets that much better, but things start making a lot more sense. And I knew nothing about the plot, but this woman is basically kidnapped by aliens, and she ends up with a group of women on a different planet accidentally. And it's filled with Ice Planet Barbarians. And there's a lot of, schmucks happening. and sometimes not really consensual, but somehow I found myself not being able to put it down. Again, you have to push through 100 pages. And then afterwards, I needed to see where it was going. I have been since told that this is a 19 book series, which this is insane. I don't know if I will continue. I've been saying a little tongue-in-cheek that next time that I'm in a reading slump, I will pick book 2. And I'm fully open to doing that because now that I'm prepared for how ridiculous it is, I might enjoy it more. Again, I did include this as my answer for book that made me the happiest, so it is what it is. It happened, okay? I have no shame. It was funny. Awful, but funny, so. Question number 12, the most beautiful book you've bought this year. Okay, I buy a lot of used books, so I feel like they're not often pretty. But there is one that I bought new that is really pretty, and then I have some special mentions. The Whispers by Ashley O'Drain. I hate saying that. The author that wrote The Push. This is my edition, which is the Indigo exclusive, which they put the sticker on the back. Thank you. The original edition is like the orange one. This one is green. Of course I had to grab it because green, but also cheaper, but green. So yes, I do think it's really pretty. I don't know what's on top. Is it supposed to be like un trèfle? Why can I not think of that word? Like a Lucky Charm thing, you know what I mean? Or is it like cilantro? Because I can't stand cilantro. So either way, now that I'm looking at it, hopefully it is not cilantro. Either way, it's pretty. I think it's pretty. Kind of abstract, which has been really in, but I feel like they're not shapes I like, but this one works, so we're gonna go with that. Although, in my last book haul, I got this one, which is Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore, which I thought the cover was actually cool, but then one of you told me something that blew my mind. This glows in the dark. I am obsessed with things that glow in the dark. I used to wear like a bunch of nail polish shades that would glow in the dark because I think it's so cool. And it does. I'm going to attempt to do it. I'm going to include a clip of me attempting to do it because it's really dark right now. So I don't have to actually bring you in my bathroom. But yes, it glows in the dark. Yes, please, for that reason, come on. It is so cool. So definitely that one. I did also like this one. I also bought new. I forgot to include this one in the Whisper in my last book haul. The Only Survivor by Megan Miranda, which I just finished. And then the last question is, what do I want to read for the rest of the year? Listen, literally everything. I not long ago did my summer TBR, and there are a bunch of series that I really want to continue and finish. So really quickly, I really want to continue this series. The first book is My Brilliant Friend. I think it's the Neapolitan series. And this is usually not the kind of books that I've been reading actually on this channel, but I feel like I used to read books like that like as a teenager. It's a contemporary and it's more about these two women, their relationship, their friendship throughout their years. And I really love the first book. I'm kind of afraid to continue. I don't know why, but it screams summer. So now that summer is here, I will be continuing and finishing this. Hopefully that would be a whole series finished. I do want to continue the cozy vibes. Like I said, same thing with Bookshops and Bone Dust. Actually, in my summer TBR, I had forgotten to mention this one. Someone reminded me. I have The Miracles of the Namiya General Store, which is supposed to be wholesome. The same author writes like really intense murder mysteries, but hey, apparently this one is wholesome. So I feel like I've been in the mood for wholesomeness, which is probably not a bad thing after all these depressing books. And yes, there's just a bunch of series that I want to continue and hopefully finish during the summer. But I've been picking up new fantasy, and for once, I feel it's been over a year, almost two, that I haven't been really in the mood for fantasy. So I feel like I've been avoiding them because I'm afraid to not like them. But like, clearly I'm embracing it. I've bought a couple more recently in my last book haul. And I'm hoping that maybe before the end of the year, I'm finally going to be in the mood to continue the Stormlight Archive series by Brandon Sanderson, because I am dying to continue, but they're 1,000 pages each. And I've kind of been in a reading slump. And like I said, I wasn't reading a lot of fantasy, so I wanted to wait to be in the mood again. So maybe. We'll see. Essentially, I just want to achieve my challenges, quite frankly, because I did okay last year. And this year I really want to like hit it strong. I want to continue mainly my read it and unhaul it because I'm doing well with the series one. So I really want to continue getting rid of books on my shelf that don't represent my taste. I've decided that I will be doing a read it or unhaul it special edition where it's mostly like read it and unhaul it, or like read it until it pisses me off. Working on that title. But I have a couple books that I feel like, a lot of fantasy books that people have told me over the years, you know what, I see that on your shelf, knowing your taste, you're not gonna like that. Often because of sexism or essay scenes. And I now have like a shelf that I've been calling my questionable fantasy shelf, and I need to do a little cleanup. I also have one Q84 by Murakami that I said I would include in that vlog. So I think I'm gonna do that this summer when I'm done with my pile of shame challenge. Those are the two big ones that I really want to do this summer. My problem is that I want to do too many challenges and it's hard to balance them all. But yes, read it, unhaul it has to have priority for sure. And I want to be able to make my shelf represent my taste more and more over the years, because I feel like it's easy to start hoarding books. I like buying books as much as, you know, the next person. And I feel like going to library sales where the books are cheap helps hoard them even more. But I also want to go through my shelves so they actually represent my taste, because I feel like if you were to like come into my room, my library, you wouldn't necessarily know what my favorite books are. I do have like specific shelves that are like basically all my favorite shelf per genre, but I have too many that I haven't read or that I'm now worried to read because of things I've heard. So like that's the goal for this year and probably next year, to just clean it up a little bit and make it more me. So this is my mid-year book freak out. I'm clearly not that freaked out. I have read 48 books out of 100. I think I'm like 5 books ahead according to Goodreads. So I'm doing well. I just want to read more favorites, which like, what can you do? Like, I'm not purposely picking books I'm going to hate. I'm not spending hours reading books that I think I'm not going to like. So I'm just going to keep trying and going to be hopeful that all of these books will work for me this year. I hope you enjoyed this video. More on the screen, thumbs up, subscribe, and I will be seeing you in an upcoming video very soon. Bye.